Okay, so um, you guys have done isometric projection before in Form 3. You did it traditionally, so most of the concepts that you've learned in Form 3 is going to be the same, only a few differences in terms of the construction here. So, as you can see, this is what I gave you to copy last week. This is part of the work that you copied last week. So, if you look at the bottom, you can see the 3D view, or you can see the isometric view, and they're basically showing you at the top here, they're showing you three views of this object here. So just to break it down for you, let's look at the first one here that they call RH side view. Basically what they're saying is that this is the end view, or this is the side view when you view this object here from the right hand side. This is what you would see. So you have the dimensions here, and if you basically look at this isometric projection from the right, then you should be able to infer, or you should be able to tell that this is what it would look like from the right. And you might also notice that they have two sets of broken lines here. So we call these hidden details in technical drawing. Basically, when you have a part of an object that's being blocked, it's hidden. So hence the name hidden details. So you can see at this top part here, you have um, the hidden detail showing this inside part here being blocked, right? You have like this indent into this object. And similarly, you also have another hidden detail here, which is basically this leg here being blocked by the other leg here from the side. So that's basically it for the end view, or we can also call it the side view. Now, on the right hand side here, where they call this view the elevation, the actual name that they're supposed to use here is the front view. However, you may find that CXC, they also use this word here, elevation, to describe the front view. So simply said, this is when you view the object from the front, right? Basically, all of these details here from the front. And then you have these two hidden details here, which would basically be for these two legs here, right? And again, you have all the dimensions that you need. So the last view, which is the one below the front view here, this is the plan view. This is basically when you view the object from the top. And again, you have hidden details being shown here. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to construct this here in isometric projection, and we're going to make use of the front, the end, and the plan view. So when I say the front view, I'll be referring to the elevation. When I say the plan view, I'll be referring to this view here. And when I say the end view, I'll be referring to the right hand side view that they have here. So once you have AutoCAD open here, the first thing you want to do, you want to set your units. So we've done this last term before. You type in the word units on your keyboard and you press enter. So you have this one here, decimal, you leave that, you don't change that. Then you have precision, you want to change precision to 0. And you want to change inches to millimeters. Once you have all of that changed, you click on OK. So the next thing that you want to do on the bottom here of the screen, the bottom right hand side, you want to ensure that you have this setting here, which is called line weight, enabled. The next thing you want to do, you want to make sure that on the object snap, you have all of these here checked off. Now we're going to create our layers that we're going to be using for this construction. So you always have the default layer here, which they call 0. We're going to create another layer, and we're going to name this layer construction line. You're going to leave the line weight here as default. So we're going to name another layer here. We're going to make another layer, and this one is going to be called arc. And you can change the color of the construction line. Choose whichever color you want. I'm going to choose a color that's preferably light, so maybe the yellow. For the arc, you probably want to choose another light color, so maybe this blue here. And you create another layer, and this one is going to be called outline. And we're going to choose a color for this one. Probably you can choose the magenta. Now for the line weight for the outline, we want to up the line weight. So we are going to click on where it says default here. And we can probably use a line weight of maybe 0.60 mm. So the line weight is basically the thickness of the line. So for the outline, we're using a thick line weight here. So once you have your layers created, you can basically close this. And now we can start constructing our isometric projection. So before we start constructing our isometric projection, there's a setting that you have to have enabled, and you may need to switch between different planes. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So as always, make sure that you have ortho mode enabled, and right after ortho mode, which is going to be this setting here, it's called isometric drafting. You click that to turn it on. Now there are 3 different modes to isometric drafting. So if you look at the arrow here that's next to it, you can see that we have isoplane left, isoplane top, and isoplane right. So to simplify it for you, isoplane left would allow us to draw lines that are going to the left of the drawing. So basically, in Form 3, you learned that we have 3 axes in isometric projection. You have the left receding axis, so the isoplane left is going to allow you to construct on the left receding axis. You have the vertical axis, which is where we're going to make use of isoplane top. And you have the right receding axis, which is where we're going to make use of isoplane right. So let's look at the diagram here. So looking at this diagram, you can basically make an inference, or you can basically make a observation here that on the right receding axis we have our end view, and on the left receding axis we have our front view. So what we're going to do, we're going to draw our front view first. But before we draw the front view first, we need to construct a simple cuboid or simple box that's going to hold all of this here. So looking at the measurements here that you have on each view, you can basically do your calculations and you would know what the measurement for the box is. So we know that this measurement here on the right receding axis is going to be 63 based on the end view here. You can see that the total length is 63. And we know that this total length here on the left receding axis is going to be equal to this total here, basically when you add up these three numbers. So you have 25, 50, and 25, which gives you 100. So we have two measurements here already. We have the 63 mm and we have the 100 mm. So now we just need to know what the height of the box is going to be. So in order to know the height of the box, you need to look at the front view. On the right hand side here, you have 25, 12, and 38. So when you add up those three numbers, it should give you 75 for the height. So coming back to AutoCAD here now, we're going to start by constructing the base of the box. So you want to make sure that you have isoplane top selected. You're going to click on line, and first you're going to draw your right receding axis. And if you can remember, the right receding axis has a length of 63. So you type in 63 on your keyboard and you press enter. And then you move your mouse towards the left receding axis. And we know that that total length is 100, so you type in 100 and you press enter. So you move back here now on the right receding axis. We know that is 63, so you type in 63, enter, and then you close off the base by drawing the final line here. And remember, if you want to stop drawing a line, you need to press the escape key. So we have the base of the box here, which is 63 by 100. We know that the height is 75, so in order to draw that, we're going to change our isoplane to either left or right, because isoplane top wouldn't allow us to draw the height. Alright, so we can change to either one, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to change to isoplane right, and if I click on line, from the base here, it's going to allow me to draw up a straight line going up, which is the height. So we know the height is 75, so you type in 75 and you press enter. So before you draw individual lines, what you could do to make your work easier, you could use the copy tool. So you click on the line that you just drew there and you click on copy. It's going to ask you to specify what the base point is, so you click here and then you simply copy it to the other three base points, and you're going to have your height shown there on all of the base points. So to finish off the shape at the top, what we could do, we could switch back to isoplane top, click on line again, and then using the points at the top, we can complete our box here. Now you would know that this is a simple cuboid, right? Or another term that we use to describe this is a rectangular prism. So as we're viewing the prism here now, there are some lines that you would not view because they're being blocked. So the lines that you see me selecting here are the ones that would be blocked, that you would not see, right? So those aren't really needed, so we can delete them. And this is how your cuboid should look. So That's the reason why we construct this box here first, in order to make your construction easier, right? This is how we're going to construct the shape now inside the box. So we're going to start by constructing each view one by one, the front view, the end view, and then the plan view. So we're going to start with the front view first. Alright, an isometric projection is very simple once you start with one view, and once you take every measurement or every dimension piece by piece. So since we're drawing the front view here, we know that the front view is on which receding axis. We know that it's on the left receding axis. So you need to make sure that your isoplane is set to left. Alright, since we're constructing on the left receding axis. So we're going to switch to construction line. Looking back at the drawing here, we can see that we have two measurements here at the bottom. You have a measurement of 32 on the left, and you have a measurement of 32 on the right. So all we need to do is replicate that here. Make sure that you have your construction line layer selected, and please have it in a different color. So you click on line. On the left hand side here, you click on this point, and we knew that the measurement was 32, so you type in 32 and you press enter. And you repeat the same thing at the other side here. You use this end, you type in 32 and you press enter. So basically what we're doing here, we're drawing everything piece by piece. That's what we're doing here. So looking at the shape here again, you can see that we have a measurement of 9 that's in between here, and we have a measurement of 25 that's going up. So we have two tiny rectangles that's in here, and we have another rectangle here. So let's start by drawing the 25 mm line. We're gonna come back to AutoCAD here now. Click on line. On the left hand side, we know that we gotta go up 25, so you type in 25. You press enter. And then you move back this side. We know that this measurement is 32 because that's what we use for the baseline here as well, right? So you type in 32, press enter, and you connect your line there at the bottom. So that's one small rectangle there finished. So next rectangle now, click on line again, and you basically repeat the same thing. You go up 25 mm, and this side you come back 32 mm, and then you close off the shape here. And as always, if you want to stop drawing the line, you press your escape key. So we have these two rectangles here. We need the 9 mm line here, right? So it's very simple. In order to get this 9 mm line, what you can do, this same baseline here, you can copy and paste it. So you click on this baseline, and then you click on copy, and you use this as your base point, and you move your mouse upwards. So once you move your mouse upwards, you can then type in 9, since the measurement is 9 mm, and you press enter, and it's going to give you your 9 mm line there, right? And then we can change this to our construction line. So as always, before you continue drawing, make sure that you have the correct layer that's selected here, right? The construction line layer. So let's look back at the drawing here. So we have this bottom part here. Now we need to have this top part here, right? Now if you notice, right? Um, this part that's here at the top is actually going in, right? It's indented. So how do we know how much it goes in? Remember, it won't tell you that on the front view. So you need to look at a corresponding view to know how much the shape has gone in here. And this is where you would get that information from the plan view. So if you look at the plan view, you can see that there's a measurement of 25 where the shape goes in. So now we know that this difference here, or this measurement here that it goes in, is 25, right? Simple observation. Right? It won't take you long to notice if you look and observe. So what we can do now, we can actually, now that we have this information, we can actually start drawing part of the plan view, right? So we can go back to the construction here, and since we know that this line here has to go in 25 mm, we can basically copy it, and here I want to notice an issue here. The line isn't moving how it's supposed to be moving. And the reason for this is because we're on the wrong isoplane. So remember, we're on isoplane left, meaning that it's only going to be drawing whatever is on this face here, the left receding axis. So in order to move this line to where we want it to be moved, we have to use the top isoplane since we're drawing on this plane now. So you click on the arrow here and you switch to isoplane top. So now you're going to select this line. You're going to click on copy and you're going to move it, and now you can see it's going where it's supposed to be going, right? So we know that from the plan view this measurement is 25, so you type in 25. Right, that's how much it has to go in. So let's look back on the views here again. Now we know that this measurement here on the left and this measurement here on the right is 25 and 25. And we know that this space between is 50. So we can start drawing that part now on the plan view here. So again, make sure you have construction line selected. Click on line. And from this end, we know the measurement is 25. So you type in 25, enter. And you do the same thing on the other side here. 25, enter. Right, so we have this side here, we have this side here. And I think if we measure the distance in between, we should have the 100 mm. So if you use the measure tool here, and you measure from here to here, you have the 50 mm there, right? So the distance is correct. Now, we know that for this space here, we have two lines coming down. And if you look on this side here, you can see that the measurement is 38, right? So we can start drawing these two lines. Come back here. And we know that these two lines are part of the front view. Therefore, we need to switch to isoplane left. Alright, because that's where we're drawing the front view. So click on line, come to this end here, you click, then you move down. And we know the measurement is 38, so you type in 38 and you press enter. And before you draw the individual line again, you can simply copy and paste it. So you click on the line, you click on copy, click on the base point here, and you copy it to the other side here. And then you just connect this end here to the other end there on that side. So we have the other part there of your front view, right? Now we can actually go back to drawing part of the plan view. So if you look here, this line goes in 38 mm. We don't have that side. And similarly on the other side here, it also goes in 38 mm. So we can draw these two sides here, and I'm pretty sure if you measure the distance from here to here, you get your 38 mm. So you draw your 38 mm here, and if you notice, I actually just drew that line on the left isoplane, right? And the reason why it still went on to draw is because of the snap-in, right? This thing here. So if you have snapping on, and the program can basically choose the points and the vertices, then sometimes you don't need to switch the isoplane. So now we have those two lines there. So coming back here, we have this part that goes in, right? This indentation here. And if you look at the plan view, it's a measurement of 19 mm. So we can come back here and we're going to switch to isoplane top. So you click on line, you come to this point here, and we know we're going in 19 mm, right? So we can simply just copy and paste this line. You click on the line to select it, you click on copy, and you click on the base point here, copy it here, copy it here. And the reason why I'm not copying it here, this side here, is because it's going to be blocked, right? You're not going to see it. So if you want to, you could probably draw it, copy it, to be on the safe side. Because when we do the outline or the final drawing, then you're not going to show the part that is hidden, right? So we know that since there's an indentation here, to make your life easier, we can copy and paste this part, right? So this same indentation here, we basically copy and paste it to the back here as well. So you see like this part here in front. And again, I don't need to change isoplane because I have object snapping on, right? So you click on copy, choose this as a base point, or if you want, you could choose this one here at the top. It doesn't really matter. And you move it to the point that is parallel to it, right? And that there is going to give you your indentation, right? So what I was saying just now, right, with the outline, if you switch to the outline on your property here, your layers, what you would want to do, you would want to turn on line weight. So line weight is this symbol here, right? You click on that to turn it on, and I can basically draw what would be shown, right? What wouldn't be hidden. So we know that this would be shown, this, 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 this here, and these lines, right? So you're using the outline layer to basically show what would be shown and what would not be hidden, because one thing that we do in isometric projection, we do not show hidden details, right? Similarly, for the front view here, we know that this would be shown, and we have part of the isometric drawing done there, right? We have this part here, the front of the two legs, and we basically have the part of the indentation done there, right? So now we can actually continue. Oh, I almost forgot. You can basically put in these parts here as well, right? Because this is going to be shown. Right. So now we're going to switch back to the construction line layer, and we can continue the rest of this isometric projection. So if you notice, we had these two lines here coming in 25 mm, right? We know that from the plan view. So we need to draw these lines here, the 25 mm lines going in. So make sure that you're on isoplane top, since that's the plan view. You click on line. From this end, you come in 25, and you can basically copy and paste the line now to the other points. Right? So you can see that with the 25 mm lines that I just drew there, you have this part here, right? But if you look at the bottom here, it's like an upsided down L, right? And this is where this 9 mm comes in, right? That's why you have the hidden detail there for the 9 mm. So now we can actually start drawing the end view here, right? So this 25 mm line that I drew here was a mistake, so I can simply just delete that. And looking back at the view here, we know that from the end view, this measurement here is 12 mm. And we know that for the other side, the opposite side here too, it's also 12 mm. So make sure that you have construction line selected, and use inline from here. You can come in 12 mm, right? So this is another trick too, basically, right? With isoplane top, you can also draw on the right receding axis, right? So with isoplane top, you can actually draw on the left receding axis as well as the right receding axis. But it doesn't allow you to draw straight lines going up, right? Vertical lines. So sometimes if you need to draw on both of the left and right axis, you can use the isoplane top to make your work easier, right? So we know that from this opposite side here, it's also 12 mm, so you put in your 12 mm, and we have those two sides there now. Now, if you notice, it goes up a little, right? And this is where the 9 mm measurement is going to come in, right? So you're going to switch to isoplane right, and from the first 12 mm line that you drew here, you're going to go up to a measurement of 9 mm, since that's what's on the drawing, right? And you do the same thing here for the other side as well. You go up 9 mm, and then you just connect here, and that's going to give you part of your end view there, right? So you can see that I have this part here of the end view. We already came in 25 mm here, so we can finish off this side here, right? And we pretty much have the end view here. So what we could do, we could actually draw the outline. So you can switch to outline, click on line, and we can complete our end view here. And I'm actually going to take advantage here to complete part of the front view here. So if you look at the drawing now, it's actually coming together piece by piece, right? So we pretty much have this right hand side here. If you compare this drawing to this side here. To make it a bit easier on the eye, what I could do, I could hide the construction lines. So if I come to layer here at the top, and if I click on this icon that look like a light bulb, I can turn off the construction line. So you see, it makes it easier for you. And you just click on it again to turn on back the construction line. So let's look back at the drawing here now. We basically have to do the same thing for the other leg here. Remember, you have this 12 mm coming in, and going up you have the 9 mm. So we can delete this one line here because it's supposed to go in 12 mm. So we're going to switch back to construction line, and seeing that this line is on the right axis, just make sure that your isoplane is on the right. So you click on line. Here you know that you have to go in 12, and then we know we have to go up 9 mm. Alright, so we have this tiny piece here. Now, how are you going to know where this line ends off here? Right? That's the other part, right? So let's look back at the drawing here. We know that where this 25 mm line ends, we have to have a line coming down. So seeing that we can't use measurements, what we're going to do, we're going to click on line, and then from this point here, we're going to draw down a line, any measurement, right? Then we're going to click on line again, and from here, we're going to let these two intersect, or let these two cross like that. And we can basically just trim out the extra, right? And that's how you know where the line is going to end, right? So if you notice, I made a mistake with this 9 mm line that I drew here, right? The one that I select here to show you. So it's not supposed to be here. If you look back on the drawing here, right, you would see that it's indented and there is a space between the two legs. And you would be able to infer this, or you would be able to tell through observation if you look at which view, if you look at the plan view here, right? So again, um, the reason why I'm going through all of these things with you is because you need to be able to look at these views and you need to be able to interpret, right? And this is why every student should have something called critical thinking, right? You have to be able to tell these things, or you have to be able to infer these things by looking at the views here, right? And it's not difficult once you keep practicing, and that's what we're actually going to do this term here, right? So I could just delete this line here since it's not needed, right? And we know that this line goes into the same 25 mm length, so you would need to switch the isoplane left since that line is on the left, and you simply just extend out the line any measurement, right, once it passes here. So it doesn't really matter how much it passes. If you want to, you could just trim out the extra, right? And seeing that we have this part here completed, we could use the outline layer and we can complete the part of the drawing here. So that's that part there, and we know that this here comes into 25. So we're actually getting closer to completing this here, right? So if you look here and you compare it here, you would notice that we're just missing how many lines? Just this one line here. And seeing that we have object snapping and we have the ends of the line, you just need to connect the top here to there, and your isometric projection is completed. So if I hide the default layer and if I hide the construction line layer, then it basically looks exactly like this one here. Same thing basically. But we actually missed out one detail here. If I zoom in, you can see that we have a line here at the back that we missed, and it's not difficult getting that line. We just need to do I forgot to turn on back the layers. So usually when you switch to a layer, it's going to ask you if you want to keep the layer on. So I'm just going to turn on back the layer there. So I'm on the construction line layer. You want, seeing that this line is on the left axis, make sure that you're on isoplane left, and you're going to draw this line going in here. And then you can simply trim out the extra. And seeing that that's a line that's going to be shown, you can change it to outline. So if you hide the default layer and if you hide the construction line layer, then it's supposed to look exactly like the isometric projection here, and it actually does. So something else that I want to show you is how we're going to dimension this construction here. Now, in the beginning, I deliberately named this layer as arc because I wanted to show y'all how you can correct a mistake that you made in the beginning if you named a layer that you were supposed to use for a different purpose. So this is the layer that we're going to use to dimension this drawing here. But seeing that it's named arc, we can rename it. So if you right click on it and you click on rename layer, we can name this now as dimension. Or instead of dimension, you could also put label. Alright? So make sure that your label layer is selected, or if you named it dimension, you could use that. And before we could start dimensioning this here, you want to look at this section here where it says annotation. So you click on the arrow there and you're going to notice all of these things here. You want to click on this second one, right? And where my mouse is, you're going to notice it says dimension style, because in the Caribbean we use a specific dimension style, and unfortunately this is something that you would need to be doing every time you open an AutoCAD file. You would need to be changing the dimension style, just like how you've been changing the units. So you click on this icon here and then you're going to click on modify. So the first thing you want to do, you want to change the units. So you click on primary units, and where it has precision and you get a set of decimal points, you want to change it to a whole number. So you change it to 0. Alright? We want no decimal points. Next thing we're going to go back to the front here where line is, and where it says extend beyond dimension line, you're going to put 3 there. And where it says offset from origin, you're going to put 3 there. You're going to go to symbols and arrows. For arrow size, you're going to change that to 3. And you're going to go to text next. And for the text height, you're going to change that to 5. For text placement, you want to change it to above for the first option there. And for text alignment, you want to change it to ISO standard. So you go to the next tab, which is fit, and this here you basically don't change anything here, right? There is another option that we should have changed. Oh yes, on the text tab where it says offset from dimension line, you want to have an offset of maybe 2. So you're going to change that to 2. And once you have all of that selected, you click on OK. And then you can close this. So you can see that you have dimension here. And right next to dimension, you can see you have linear. So with a linear dimension, that is when you're dimensioning a straight line. But this is an isometric drawing, and these lines are at an angle, right? They're at a 30-degree angle. So the arrow that's right next to linear, you want to click on the arrow and you want to select the one that's called aligned. And basically you can start dimensioning everything here one by one. So if I dimension this side here, I click on this base point and I click on the next base point, and you can see that it's telling me that the dimension here is 32, right? 32 mm. Similarly, I can dimension the other sides here. This one is 12. This one here, 25. Then you have this here. So depending on what you're dimensioning, you may not need to show all dimensions because some of them would basically be repetitive, right? For example, this 25, you know that it's the same thing here. This 32, we know that it's the same thing here. But we have an issue here now, right? For the dimensioning, they don't look neat at all. They don't look aligned. So there's a way that we can change this, right? So we're going to start with this one here that's at the top here, right? We want to align it, or we want it to be parallel with the 30-degree angle. So at the top here, we're on the home tab currently. The next tab is insert and the next one is annotate. So you're going to click on annotate, and where it says dimensions here, this is where we're going to use the option to align this. But before we align it, you need to click on the dimension that you're aligning first. And then you're going to click on this arrow here, and you should see this symbol here where my mouse is on. And you can see that they call it oblique. So you click on that. It's going to ask you to select the oblique angle. So we can use this 30-degree angle by clicking on this base point and by clicking on the next base point. And you can see that it aligns the dimension. So it looks much better now. This is how it's supposed to look. So if you know you have multiple dimensions that use the same angle, that has to be aligned at the same angle. Let's say, for example, I'll do a next one here, right? Let's say, for example, we have this one here, right? So we know that 50 and we know that 32 is at the same 30-degree angle. So you can click on both of them to select them, and you can go to annotate here, click on the arrow, and you use the oblique function here, and again you can use back the same 30-degree angle, and if you notice, it aligns both of them, right? Because they're basically at the same angle, right? This one is at a different angle, so we would click on the symbol here and we would use this angle here, right, to get it in line. Similarly, these two here could be at the same angle as well. So you select them, you click on oblique, and use this as the angle to align them. So when you do this, you have a much neater dimension style, right? And that's basically it for dimensioning. So what I'm going to show you now is basically if you want to dimension a circle, right? Let's say I just draw a circle of a random measurement here, and you come back to the home tab, and where it says aligned, you change it to radius. You select the circle, and it allows you to dimension radius, or click on diameter and it allows you to dimension diameter. And I would like you to bear in mind that if you were doing this traditionally, you would have to basically do this by hand, and the program basically does everything for you here. And you don't need to worry about neatness and accuracy and all those things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And maybe if you're finished with the construction and we have time left over, you could use the textbooks and practice another isometric projection that's after this one here from the same set of pages.